Hello there. This video essay will be the first in a series I intend to publish discussing game design choices in successful titles. So to start out this venture, I'll be exploring a game that is very near and dear to my heart, World of Warcraft. Now, to understand my viewpoints on what WoW did right, I should establish my credentials as a bitter vanilla WoW player that has significantly less fun now than when I did when the game was still young. There are thousands of videos flooding YouTube regarding the hatred the old player base has for the current game. I don't intend to regurgitate the same points again. Instead, my goal is to focus on a specific aspect of WoW that contributed heavily to its success, in my eyes at least, that's forced socialization. Now, I began playing back in the summer of 2006. I was going into my freshman year of high school, and I had only just moved to this city, so I knew literally nobody. So here I was trying out this online game that a distant relative had informed me of called World of Warcraft. It was a strange new world that seemed so massive and hostile, and in so many ways, Azeroth in the early years was much like a big high school because back then, one of your primary goals was kind of to make friends. If you only started playing from Cataclysm onwards, it might come as a shock to know how many people played Classic WoW that never even set foot inside of a raid but still managed to have tons of fun. To a great deal of people, WoW was about exploring this massive world, learning its secrets, and making friends along the way, eventually forming a guild if there were enough of you. Now, raids were for those guilds with skilled people who wanted to explore the depths of those mysterious zones, and the gearing up aspect wasn't the primary focus, but was instead a tool used to explore the next raid. If you weren't somewhat interested in talking to people and making friends, you probably weren't going to survive till level 60, let alone see the inside of any raid instance. See, this was a time in WoW's history when a pair of murlocs represented almost guaranteed death to most players, as enemies were tougher and could easily swarm you if you weren't careful. So having someone watch your back was almost required while handling some quests. This was a time when gold was hard to come by and you had to spend a lot of it on required upgrades as you leveled, so knowing someone who could craft you things that you needed was often much cheaper than buying things from the auction. This was before an automated system matched you with viable group members for a dungeon and you just had to source groups yourself for that content, and the powerful loot within was massively helpful. So just having friends and networking with other people was not just an optional activity, it was pretty much a requirement of progression. And this design choice of forcing the player to go forth and make allies to help them through the world has been tossed aside in recent years. As of now, there's a queue and an easy group finder option for literally every type of content in the game, and it makes it feel completely pointless to actually talk to the person standing next to you in a major capital city. Now, before anyone bashes on me for hating the current philosophy of WoW, I'm really not. There is definitely some demand for a world of queuecraft, and Blizzard simply chose to follow what they saw as a trend that gamers were looking for. But when talking about the WoW fanbase, there's going to be a divide in two camps, and it's highly subjective. There's those who see WoW as a fun, action-based MMORPG, and those that see it more of a platform for social bonding and making friends. Right now, Blizzard has put all their chips on the side of making a well-balanced, mechanically solid game with an emphasis on endgame progression, and that's wonderful. But the process of chasing that vision with full force, they've accidentally dismantled one of their strongest hooks for players by enabling them to completely ignore social interaction entirely and still maintain progression. All too often, people claim that those asking for Classic WoW are just seeking nostalgia, and while there's definitely some nostalgia to be had for older players like me, the sentiment is kind of a gross oversimplification. Those seeking Classic WoW want to go back to the days of feeling like the world they play in is dangerous, massive, and alive. A world where the only way to achieve anything is to work together and trust in your allies. A world where the players are the main characters in the story. So that's why you'll see me and many others playing Classic WoW when it re-releases this summer.